is our guest artist, Mr. Pearless Speller. He has graced us with his presence, bringing in funds on it, even more than I even asked for, which is awesome. The real thing, because it looks different when you project it up there than when you see it in real life. The colors are more vivid, and stuff like that. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Speller here. If you need to turn it into slides, let me know. That little mouse over there, just clicks it right on up. Right. Y'all give him your undivided attention, this full guy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, I guess I'll start off by just giving a brief biography of myself. I get autobiography and biography mixed up. But nevertheless, I'm from Berkeley County, Windsor, North Carolina. I was raised on a farm with three brothers. And it was tough being raised by three brothers, because you got beat up a lot. But I took care of all the bullies at school. Nevertheless, all of us had talent. Even my father could draw. My father always wanted to be an artist, but he never pursued it. He stayed on the farm and worked the farm because Granddaddy bought him this hot car, and that stopped his ambition. His sister went on to college and became an educator. And she was the one that always was telling us how to talk when we were growing up. And I was very poor in English. I didn't do well in English because my English teacher allowed me to draw in class. She recognized my talent, and she started bringing watercolor sets, acrylic sets, charcoal, pen and ink, all these different medias that y'all are learning in school. She brought it to me in English class because we didn't have art classes back then. You see how things are better now? Art is necessary. Someone give me, in a nutshell, define the word art.
Being creative to draw.
Being creative to draw what you want. Good. Yes, sir.
Creativity.
Creativity. Very good. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay. In a nutshell, one word. Art is communication. Art is communication. Now, I understand that you all have a mural project. And I want to, I have already agreed to assist with the project. And I want you to know that idea is king in art. A lot of artists procrastinate and never get anything done because they can't think of any ideas. They just shut themselves out because certain things people don't want to draw. If people are in it, some artists don't like to draw portraits. If landscapes are in it, some artists don't like to do landscapes. But you know, I never had a fear. I didn't know I was supposed to be scared of certain things. So I drew everything. Now I had a cousin, when I was probably about 9 years old, he had the pleasure to go to the School of Art in Atlanta, which is a very prestigious school, a great school. When I was an art teacher, I had the pleasure to visit that college and recommended some of my students to go there. Then I really found out how awesome that school was. I didn't know as a child that he was at one of the best schools in the country. He would come home and he would have his oil paintings and he would show them to me and whatnot, but he wouldn't teach me a thing. I would show him my sketches to try to entice him to let me be his understudy or his disciple or his apprentice. But he said no. He saw my skill, and some people, when they see your skill, they get jealous. They see your potential. They say, oh my, he's going to be great. I'm not going to help him. Maybe he won't be great. And I can continue to shine. So don't think everybody loves what you are doing when you're doing well. You have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe in you, you're not going to make it. He crushed my heart when he wouldn't show me what he was doing. Did I give up? Nope. I got a phone call from his mother, because we all was farmers in that community. And she called me on the phone and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Nothing." She said, "Can you come up here? I got something to show you." I said, "Okay." So when I got to her house, she escorted me to my cousin's room, and she told me that he'd be coming home in an hour for lunch. She said, "I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. Only thing I know, I want you to go in his room and look at what he's doing, and maybe you can learn something." See, I'm that guy, if you give me an inch, I can take a mile. And I walked in that room, and I was so inspired with his equipment, his tools that he was using, and the technique that he was using, the style, how he painted and drew. And you can learn from that. Those of you, how many of you want to be an artist? Okay, very good. Now, have you had the pleasure to look in the history of art and find an artist that you like his work? Okay, what's the name? What's your name first? Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Your name? You get the artist name. Da Vinci was a genius. Every piece of art that Da Vinci touched was a masterpiece. He had the formula for a masterpiece. Nobody has that formula right to this day. I looked up and did one masterpiece. It was a jazz band. Is that slide up there?
That's my favorite.
Could you show that slide?
Yeah, I'll put it up there right now.
Now that slide, that particular painting I did, is probably as large as the one on the end. It hangs in the Rocky Mountain Art Center. Has anyone visited the Rocky Mountain Art Center? Okay, so you may have seen that painting, but you didn't know the artist at the time. This particular painting was in a juried exhibition. 48 of the 50 states was represented that year. My favorites was New York City, Chicago, California, Florida. They were off the chain. Great work. And little old me made it in the finals. I didn't plan on going to the reception because I never thought I had a chance to win. So they called me on the phone and tried to get me to come to the reception without telling me that I won. It didn't work. I refused. So finally, the art director called me and said, "You know what, you're a hard nut to crack. You have to come to the reception because you won the best in show." So do y'all know what the best in show means? You have third place, you have second place, you have first place, and then you have the best in show. In other words, I won in overall in every category. The judge ruled me the best for that year. Isn't that an honor? Now, when I was at your age, I won 5th place in an art competition. And when they handed me that plaque of 5th place, I cried because I won 1st place. And the teacher said, "Why are you crying?" I said, "Because I'm only number 5. She said, "But you are 5th in the nation." I didn't realize that. And then I cheered up. I said, "Okay, that's not bad." Out of all the kids in the United States of America that entered that contest that year, I was 5th in the nation. So it's good to dream. But your dreams can come true if you pursue your dreams. All right. Are there any questions? Start here. You move out there. Yes, sir. Stand up. Talk loud. Give me your name first. Okay.
I was thinking, since you make all these drawing art, how much money do you make?
Very good. Very good question. He asked, how much money do I make as an artist? Most people, when they think of an artist, they think of a starving artist, don't they? Y'all ever heard that term, starving artists? They are poor people. You know, you ever heard of Vincent van Gogh?
Yes.
He only sold 3 paintings in his lifetime. Isn't that something?
I feel better now.
Yeah, only 3 paintings. But now his work is priceless. Okay, now getting back to me, I'm trying to get away from me. Okay, now in my situation, when I was a young, I'm in my 50s now. When I was in my 20s, my brothers used to tease me because when I came home to visit, and we all did during the summer, we all went to college, and that was rare for a black family to have 4 kids and all 4 go to college and get their degrees. That's very rare. Things are getting better now. There are grants, there are different opportunities for you all to go to college. Take advantage. Learn now. It starts now. Build yourself, build your mind as a good student now. Because when you get in college, it's going to be the hardest job you ever had in your life. It's harder than any work out here in the public. All the research, all the nights that you're going to stay up and study. Now, some people are just naturally gifted. But during that time when I would come home and visit, I was the one that had the raggediest car. I was the one that had the shabby clothes, you see. I was the one that stayed in an apartment instead of buying a home. Anywhere I laid my hat was my home. I felt comfortable. I was good in my skin. I enjoyed what I was doing. I wasn't making a lot of money at that time. But my brothers teased me. They said, why don't you give up art? Look how you look and look how we look. We all have houses. We all have fine cars and we all wear fine clothes and you look like a bum. I said, but I'm an artist. That's what we're talking about. You always talk that art talk. We don't know what you're talking about. We don't understand it, but won't you get a regular job and be like regular people? I said, no. Oh man, they were hurt. Their feelings were crushed because I was their brother. They wasn't mature enough to understand that I was different. I wasn't them. Some of you are different. You're not one of them. You're one of us. So you have to be who you are and not let anyone crush your dreams. So finally, I ran into this lady who knew more about me than I knew about myself. I knew she had money, and I went to her house to try to get her to allow me to paint some paintings for her. Things were hard at that time. And she brought a folder out about this thick and set it on the table. She said, I want you to see this first. I looked in the folder, and it was my whole life story. She had pictures of me when I had my first bicycle. She had pictures of me every time I made the honor roll, clippings from the newspaper, from middle school through college. Every time I did an art show, she had the clippings of every art show. She had my whole life in a book. And she told me, she said, I make so much money, I live off my interest. She said, Mr. Speller, do you know what a CD is? I said, yes, ma'am. She said, well, when my CDs mature on a certain date, I can take out any amount of money I want, and I'm going to take that money out and give you enough where you never have to work again. She said, because you work too hard. She said, you need to just paint every day. She said, I want to commission you to do some painting. She brought a box in, a box about that high full of photographs of cats and dogs and people houses and people children. And she said, paint, any size your heart desires, and charge me what they are worth. Paintings this size, $3,000 and $4,000. Painting this size, $15,000 to $20,000. She paid it with no problem. You see how, now, being honest, I never advertised. The Creator has always looked out for me because I have always read His holy word. I have always believed. And when you believe in God, Allah, call him whatever you want to call him, he's still God. He will bless you. He blessed me mightily with that lady. And I did all those paintings for her. And then all of a sudden, so I have paintings throughout America. She was sending them everywhere. Now, 3 days before that CD matured, it was getting close. I'm sitting there thinking I'm going to be a rich man in 3 days. All of a sudden I get a phone call and they tell me that she died. So I never got the money.
Wow.
But guess what? When you have your health, you're rich. When you got your right mind, you are rich. And when you have ambition and you're going to try to be something, you are rich. If I had got that money, I wouldn't be standing here today because I would have killed myself with all that money. I wasn't mature enough to have that kind of money. And someone higher than me knew that. They wanted me to be here so I can talk to you all. So I would have killed myself with all that money. I would have did the wrong things. And some of you are probably doing some of the wrong things now. From time to time, you need to stop in your life and collect your thoughts. Think about who you are, what you're doing, what you like and what you dislike. Because when you find out who you are and find out what you want to do, and it's fun doing it, can you imagine going to work doing that fun thing every day? That's why I didn't worry about the clothes I wore. That's why I didn't worry about the car I drove. Because I went to work. I didn't have to go to work. I worked at home every day. And I was happy. Very few people get that opportunity. Very few people will allow their mind to be able to deal with that. To be an artist, you have to spend a lot of time alone. A lot of time alone. That's why I talk so much when I get out in the public. So,
Can we ask you some more technical questions?
more questions?
All right. One was,
Go
ahead. Yeah.
Okay, stand up, baby.
All right.
Give me that.
And what was your favorite subject in school?
Favorite subject in school? My favorite subject in school was math. Yep. I love math. And I started to major in math in college. I came that close to being a math teacher.
We had a student ask, what is the best computer program for art? Do you like GIMP? Do you like Tool Paint? Do you like Photoshop?
I love Adobe Photoshop. I love it. It's amazing to me. I'm still learning. It's a never-ending story. They have CX6 out now, but I still stick with CS2 because that's the program that I know and I can do whatever I want to do with it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Very good question. When I sold my very first piece of art, I was in college. That was back in 1978. I'm telling my age, right? And it was a still life. It was my first oil painting. A young lady from New York City bought that piece. She still had that piece in her collection. But my first painting was a watercolor piece that hangs in my home. I should have brought that. Okay, this young lady first.
What do you do to get started before you start painting?
Very good question. She asked, what do I do to be inspired before I start painting? This is what I do. In my studio, I have a surround sound system made by Bose. And when you cut that music on, you would think that you're inside a concert hall. That's how awesome those speakers are. My wife really had a hard time digesting the fact that I spent $4,000 for a system. I thought she was going to leave me behind that, but she held on. I told her I would never do that again. We always discuss when we spend a large amount of money, but this time she didn't understand that I needed music to motivate me. Music motivates me. And guess what? Art motivates musicians. Did y'all know that a lot of famous musicians, before they go to their concert, they take in a museum showing and look at art to be inspired to sing? Did y'all know that? Yes, they do that. And so the artists listen to music a lot of times. Now, when I was in college, our professor was a nun. May God rest her soul. She was a wonderful person, but she didn't believe in music, and she didn't let us listen to music when we would draw and paint. But I incorporated that in my classroom when I was an art teacher, and the results was amazing. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't listen to rap and rock and roll every day. I would bring in my music and let the kids listen to jazz and blues and a little Jimi Hendrix and some of the people from my time. It was different for them. Next question. Oh man, great question. He asked, did I put my feelings into my painting? Okay, now this painting here was done in 4 hours. What? And let me tell you what I did. I put on Jimi Hendrix's greatest hits, and I began to paint. And I used one brush, which was a 2-inch brush, and I painted this canvas in 4 hours flat. And you know, if you've seen any footage of Jimi Hendrix, at the end of some of his concerts, he burns his guitar. Sometimes he'll take it and bang it on the floor and break it. Well, I broke my brush when I finished. 4 hours.
That's quick.
Now, on that one over there, one on the far corner, this is what I want to share with all of you who have an artist mind that you love. This was my favorite artist. I painted this, but the person who did this idea, his name is Jean-Baptiste, a French artist. He did this in the 1800s, and the original hangs in the North Carolina Museum of Art in Raleigh. Every time I go there, I used to drive many miles when I need to be inspired sometimes. Sometimes music doesn't do it. The person that asked that question, what inspires me? Sometimes other artists' work inspires me. So this guy was my mentor, even though he was dead. His work inspired me. So I would drive way to Raleigh to look at this painting so I could get inspired. So I said, you know what? I'm burning a lot of gas going to Raleigh. Why don't I just paint it myself and have it in my studio, and then I can look at it when I need to. And that's what I did. So you learn something when you paint someone else's work who have a style similar to yours. That's how you learn, that's how you grow. Yes, sir. The favorite painting that I ever done? I don't have a favorite. They all are like, I'm birthing children into the world. If a man could do so, he would be rich. But for me, birthing art is like birthing children. And every one I love dearly. And for a large period of time, I used to hold on to every painting I did because I loved them so. I wouldn't let them out of the house. I wouldn't sell them. And then I realized that's why I'm a starving artist. That's why I'm poor. That's why my car don't look like my brother's cars and my clothes and whatnot. And then when I start releasing them, I'm making money. Now the question about how much money does an artist make? They make more than doctors. Yes. They make more than doctors. Now think about it. It takes a doctor how many years to be a doctor?
3
8 years. Is that correct? It's at least 8 years. At least 8 years. Does everybody agree with 8 years?
Yes.
Teachers? Yep. All the teachers? Y'all agree with that? We have any teachers in the audience? Yeah. 8 years. Guess how many years it takes to be an artist? Give a guess.
1, 0, 0.
Zero.
Listen up.
It takes an artist, in order to perfect his talent, to be great at it, to be good at it, to know what he's doing, to be comfortable with it, and not have a bunch of flaws in his work, know how to work out all his flaws, and he at a point where he can create and have fun, because first, the learning process is very painful, because you got to do a lot of work to get there, and it takes you 20 years. 20 years. Now, listen to me. I started selling my work before the 20-year period, but I couldn't sell it but for only a little amount of money because they weren't the best paintings in the world. People bought them because they saw something in them that they liked. You know, maybe my color was right on time for certain people, but people respond to color. Maybe the subject matter hit home for someone because people like certain things that they see. It reminded them of something, but the skill level wasn't there. So I wouldn't try to sell myself up here when my work quality was down here. Now when my work quality, everything balanced out like that, that's when I started making money. Yes, ma'am.
How many paintings have you sold?
Wow, great question. You know, I wasn't a great file keeper, but I'm going to give an estimate. I'm going to say probably over 500 paintings.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
So when y'all complain about drawing in your sketchbook every day, you don't have to do 500 drawings. He's already sold 500 paintings.
Now look, we don't have a lot of time left.
Listen up.
So this is what I would like to do. I would like you all to start over here and walk down and come across so you can get a closer look. And when you come by this box here, I want everybody to get a copy of this magazine. All right? You're going to find Pearless Speller on page 14. Okay? I'm on page 14. I want you to keep this. Just to remind you of the day. Okay? So come around.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Third period, 8th graders, go ahead and stay in here and help clean up. Everybody else, walk through and head on out. First block of 8th grade will stay in here.